Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Endless Spiral podcast. You're all very welcome. On this episode, I am joined by renowned sports psychologist Divya Jain, and she is the head of psychological services for the Department of Mental Health and Behavioral Sciences for the Fortis National Mental Health Programme. That's a mouthful. I am delighted that Divya has joined me on this podcast because I think this is going to be a really good opportunity maybe for us to get some insight into maybe the medical side of things, and maybe we can pick up some tips along the way. Divya, you're very welcome. Thanks very much for joining me. How are you?
Thank you for having me here. It's always fantastic to talk about sports and mental health. I'm doing
Yeah,
well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm really, really good. I'm really, really good. It's actually quite warm here tonight, so it's unusual. Apart
Really?
from that, I'm really good. And I think maybe we start with what exactly is sports psychology? Maybe if some people aren't completely aware of exactly what it means.
So, when we talk about sports training, you'd basically be looking at three different aspects. One would be your technical strategic training, the second would be your strength conditioning, which would also include your nutrition and things like that. And the third would be the mental aspect of the game. And if you look at any sports competition, just hear the commentary and you'll notice how much people talk about the psychological aspects, right? This one's choking under pressure. How is this person going to recover from the previous failure, from the previous mistake? And yet we notice that not a lot is done to actually systematically look after these mental aspects of the game.
Yeah,
So sports psychology is actually techniques that can help you focus better under pressure, deal with that competition anxiety, how to be present in the moment, what to say to yourself before a competition, things like that. Anything that can enhance the performance based on just
yeah,
how you think about the game.
yeah. And do you feel that maybe the mental side of things is lacking, or it's maybe not? There isn't as much focus on the mental side of things than maybe say the physical side of sports training.
Not nearly enough, unfortunately. I
Right.
don't know how it is at your side of the world. Uh,
Yeah,
while
yeah,
there is an increased focus, for sure, people are understanding the value of it. But I feel like there's still a lot more that can be done in a more systematic manner. People find that this is something that they can do in their extra time, rather than
yeah,
necessarily being something that is prioritized as a part of training. So I feel like
yeah.
that impetus could be shifted a bit.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's nearly an afterthought,
Almost,
almost.
almost.
Right, right. And do you deal with? Is it more playing side of sports, or would you deal with maybe people who would suffer maybe from anxiety, but kind of use sport maybe as an escapism, or would you mainly just deal with kind of athletes?
So, as a sports psychologist, I deal with athletes uh,
Okay.
who are, whether it's for performance enhancement or whether it's regular mental health concerns like anxiety or depression, which athletes, just like regular people, can also experience, right? At the same time, I work with regular people who are not a part of the athletic population as well. Although I think sports is great for absolutely everyone to kind of play. What got you interested in sports and mental health? Not something that's talked about a lot.
For me
Yeah.
personally, yeah. So
Yes.
yeah. So that's a good question actually. When I was younger, I suffered from depression, and as I got older, the kind of depression kind of turned into more anxiety. And what I found was I was using sport as an escapism, and it wasn't necessarily playing sport. It would be more watching sport on TV, or and it could be any type of sport. So I'd find myself just kind of sitting down or whatever, but I would just be watching sport or even listening to a sports podcast to take myself away from my anxiety of maybe work or or maybe or anything really. But it was just more just to take my focus away from the daily struggles, if you know what I mean. Like even a
Right.
2 hours of just watching like a football match in the evening would be heaven for me, you
That's
know.
absolutely
Yeah. But then I also found if I was playing sport, it would have the opposite effect on me. So if I wasn't performing as I thought I should be, it would have a negative effect on me. So what I would find that I would nearly stop playing certain sports, which is a terrible thing, but I would stop playing certain sports if I felt I wasn't kind of performing as I should. And I would nearly retreat, and I would start watching the sport on TV as nearly of how it should be played, and it would make me feel better. So I would find playing sport would cause me kind of anxiety and be a negative effect. But watching sports on TV, like watching professionals, would have the opposite effect, and it would have a positive effect on me. Like, would you find that with many other people? I'm sure it's quite common.
Actually, one question that I always like to ask players I work with right at the start in my first session is, what makes you want to play? And if you think about when you started playing, it was just for fun, right? That feeling of being out there on the field, not in your classroom, running around with your friends, that's the most exciting feeling. But as and when you improve, you get better at it, your own expectations, other people's expectations, spectators start coming into it, the stakes get higher. That's when people sometimes it becomes more about expectations, more about living up to something, more about fame, more about success, rather than really just about the fun and the spirit of playing sports. So that is something that definitely does happen. And on the flip side of it, I think that there's a lot to be admired even by watching sports. Just seeing our role models up there, battling it out on the field can be very, very inspiring and a lot of fun. So I completely understand that part.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly why I thought it'd be great, to have you on this podcast, just to get a different perspective on things, because you deal with actually, with a kind of elite athletes. So, the athletes that you actually work with, are you able to talk a little bit about maybe kind of some tips that you might talk to them about and help kind of maybe?
As long as, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, kind of maybe, or like some athletes might deal with kind of the anxiety and the stress of sport differently than others. You were saying about the athletes that you train, or not necessarily train, but you deal with. So are you able to kind of speak about maybe the tips and the advice that you might be able to give some athletes? Because obviously some athletes might deal with kind of anxiety different than others.
Yes, absolutely. I think dealing with anxiety is competition anxiety is one of the key aspects of the work that we actually do, especially at a very high level, because a lot of times you find that athletes may do very, very well under in the nets, and when they go out into competition or those really high pressure competition situations, you're going into the Olympics, you've been training for this for the last 15 years. The next 1 minute will determine what the result of that is. It's a lot of pressure to deal with. So dealing with that anxiety is going to be the most important. Firstly, it's important to just be able to understand stress and anxiety. Stress is just our body's response to any kind of fight or flight situation, right? So it's actually a way of strengthening our body. That's why our heart rate starts to increase. That's why our breathing patterns change, right? So that you can run faster, so that you can be stronger. So if athletes can kind of understand that stress is more about making the body stronger rather than something to be scared about, it's actually something that players can use to energize themselves. Of course, bases their own individual disposition as well as the sport that they're playing. Some of those outburst kind of sports, you're talking about sprints and things like that, will require that high energy, and players can do really well with that extra burst. If you're talking about other sports like shooting and golf, which require you to be really calm, which require you to shoot between heartbeats, there it would be a different kind of strategy. So when you choose to psych up, when you choose to psych down, what kind of different patterns you use, whether in terms of your breathing, whether in terms of your focus, what you tell yourself. So it can actually be quite systematic. I remember a lot of times growing up, and this is while playing sport, this is in school, this is at home, when you used to get anxious, people used to say, just relax. And that used to make me so frustrated. It's the worst thing to say to someone when they're anxious, right? Just relax. Because if I could have, I would have, right? And shifting it from that to say, hey, okay, if you're anxious, step 1, step 2, step 3, do these things, practice these things regularly for this much time, and you'll be able to see a result. And you'll actually be able to learn how to relax, which is what I find very satisfying.
So it's more just a repetitive thing as well. I mean, I suppose it's a repetitive thing when you're actually playing sport, but it's also a repetitive thing in your mind, isn't it? Like you just have to practice the skills that you're teaching these athletes.
Absolutely. It's like any other aspect of sport, right? You have to keep practicing your backhand again and again and again. You need to
Yeah,
get in the repetitions.
yeah,
And you need to get in the repetitions with this as well. People sometimes unfortunately think that, they'll pick up the skill and then they'll just directly implement it in competition. It doesn't work like that. It's a lot about the planning and the preparation that goes into it, even
yeah.
psychologically.
Right. Okay. And I suppose, as you were just saying, kind of the shooting on between heartbeats, I suppose practicing your breathing is really important as well.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. Lots of interesting techniques coming up. There's a lot of biofeedback and neurofeedback
Okay.
that's coming up, where people are actually being able to watch their heartbeat on a screen, figure out what they can do to reduce the pace of it, what they can do to increase the pace of it, how
Right.
their brain waves differ, and things like that. So a lot of technology coming into it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's very
a lot
interesting.
of
Yeah.
the wisdom as well, a lot of breathing techniques. Uh, Even just where you focus on, how you focus your sight, your vision, visualization techniques that you can use.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a whole basket of techniques that can actually
Right.
go into it based on what the player is comfortable with.
Yeah. I've noticed when especially like golfers to use visualization so much. But like you always
Yes.
see, like say the Tiger Woods, they before they go to take the shot, they'll step back and they'll just look down the fair and like they're visualizing what they're going to do beforehand. It's
Mhm.
so important.
Absolutely. I think if you can visualize it, then I mean, it used to happen to me when I used to play
Right.
sport or work out. If I could visualize myself doing something, the chances of me actually doing it were a lot higher. And
Yeah.
again, visualization is not just some secret magical tool, right? It's one more form of practice
Yeah.
where you're practicing the same thing in your mind. And
Yeah.
what I like to tell athletes is, don't visualize winning. Visualize playing your winning game, right? Visualize yourself running the fastest, hitting the hardest,
Right.
um, aiming the most accurate, rather than just standing on the podium and celebrating.
Yeah. 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 Because you can kind of get ahead of yourself if you start kind of
Yeah.
visualizing the actual finish out. Yeah. I think that was probably my problem when I was playing sport was I was visualizing myself failing rather than visualizing myself succeeding. I was,
Or just playing, actually.
yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Because
it's far easier for me to just sit back and watch somebody else either succeed or fail.
right.
You
I
know?
think if you're watching yourself succeed or fail, either way, you're not in the present moment, and you're not
Yeah,
visualizing yourself play.
yeah,
So whether it's failure, success, whether it's past or future, either way, you're not in the present moment, and that's not
mhm,
going to work.
yeah, yeah. So, would you recommend that maybe I go back and start playing sport again?
Always, always.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Oh,
everyone should pick up a sport, no matter what age, no matter
yeah, yeah.
what previous experience.
I might try golf again. I used to enjoy golf.
Really.
Yeah. Do you deal with any golfers, or would you be more track and field athletes, or would you deal with kind of all sports?
All sports. Frankly, they're just yeah. There's a huge shortage of psychologists in the country, of mental health experts in the country, and of sports psychologists specifically as well. And no, I think I enjoy working with different athletes from different
Yeah,
fields as well. There are different challenges, both individually, person to person, as well as based on the sport. So that we, I mean, I think people in sports like golf, shooting, archery understand the value of sports psychology a lot more, because
right,
uh, it requires a lot more calm and focus. Uh,
right.
but at the same time, racket sports have their own specific demands. The amount of time you actually spend waiting between points in racket sports is quite surprising if you really
That's
look
a
at
good
it.
point.
Uh, you know, consider soccer, the penalty shootouts, uh,
Yeah,
gymnastics, track field, swimming, all of those. I mean, they all have their very unique and interesting demands, and it's
yeah, yeah.
exciting to work with players from different sports.
Brilliant. And would you find the advice that you would give an individual, an athlete who's doing an individual sport, would you give different advice to someone who's in a team sport?
Uh, it depends if I'm talking to one person or the entire team. I think there are
Okay.
two separate kind of components, because every player is an individual player within a team sport as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you're looking at building focus, if you're looking at dealing with anxiety, uh, those aspects will be pretty similar for whichever
Okay.
sport you're playing.
Yeah.
It's the other aspects in terms of your communication with other team members, uh, your sense of identification, your identity, yourself, your team, your goals, how you negotiate those conflicts, how you deal with those aspects. That will be an extra
Right.
add on, sharing that responsibility rather than having that entire responsibility on
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So there'd be those additional components that you would be looking at in a team, right? Building that trust, building that camaraderie, so to say,
Yeah.
uh,
Brilliant.
and dealing
Yeah.
with those conflicts as compared to individual sport, which is
Yeah.
more
And
focused on the self alone.
brilliant. And do you feel that you would have more, maybe not success is the right word, but would you have kind of more of an impact on a team, an athlete in a team sport rather than an individual sport? Or does it really make no difference?
I don't think it makes a difference. I think a player needs to be open
Right.
to this process, and anyone who's open to it would benefit from it. The psychology is not something that you can force onto someone. They have to be
Yeah, I
open and
suppose.
willing to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And are you involved in any other mental health activities, or are you purely just on the sports side at the moment, or?
No, a lot actually. So that entire mouthful that you recited at the beginning, the
Yeah.
Department of Mental Health and Behavioral Sciences Fortis National Mental Health Program.
Yeah.
So we're actually a team of mental health professionals spread across India,
Yeah.
and we work a lot. Other than our clinical consultations in different aspects, we work a lot with schools, working on life skills development,
Okay.
helping students cope with the different pressures, whether it's bullying, whether it's understanding media literacy, gender related aspects, things like that. We work with teachers, parents as well. We do a lot of work with corporate organizations. These days, especially, people are really struggling with the lockdown, working from home, how to support each other. Uh, in this pandemic, we've been working a lot on those aspects also. Uh, so, a lot of work in the community also. Like I said, there's a significant shortage of mental health experts, and there's a huge burden. Right, 300 million people in the world suffer from depression.
Mm.
More than 250 million suffer from anxiety. So it's a
Yeah.
big problem that's not uh, recognized as much as it should. So we all feel like that's something that each member of our team believes, that take out 20% of your time from your practice to give to the community to be able to make an impact. Because otherwise, as a psychologist, you know, at the most I can work with what, 6, 8 people in the day. That's
Okay.
40
Right.
people in the week, and that continues for many months. So
Yeah.
versus the kind of impact that you can make if you're able to scale it up and reach out into the community, train volunteers, train teachers, train students.
Yeah. Yeah. And would you do any sports counseling for students in kind of say younger kids in school? Would you do any
I
counseling? Sorry, would you like for sport, or would it just be for the bullying and the general day-to-day anxiety stuff, or maybe not that, but
So both actually. So there's the day-to-day, the bullying, substance use, uh,
mm,
assertiveness, peer pressure, those aspects as well. A lot of talking to parents about encouraging kids to play and how that helps develop their
yeah,
personality. With
yeah,
kids who are interested in sports, we also do workshops with them.
okay,
I actually feel that with kids, that's the age to start mental training, right?
okay,
Not once they become elite athletes. I would rather
right,
start much younger, early teens, when they're more in their formative years, so that they're able to form the right attitude towards sport at that age, right? So that they remember the fun at that time, they remember how to focus, they understand what pressure is and how to deal with it, and use those same skills in other challenges of life. Also, I think taking your board exams or playing a sport or competition, they aren't very different in terms of the psychological skills that they require. So yes, I really enjoy working with younger
yeah,
athletes. I think that's where the focus really needs to be. We
yeah,
can't think of 2021 Olympics. We have to think of 2028, 2032.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
that's where the medals are a lot more.
That's where the mills are, yeah. Because there was a question that I was going to ask you, was kind of the youngest age that you would really work with, but as you say, you kind of you should really be shaping them from a younger age.
yeah, you just work with them differently.
Yeah.
You use different kinds of language. I mean, I love quoting Harry Potter examples with a lot of
Right.
younger players that I work with, or different animations and things like that. So you
Okay.
really simplify it. You get them used to the idea of having
Yeah.
someone to talk to, uh,
Okay.
and you work at it a bit differently. You work at different aspects. Uh, Initially, it's more just about building their confidence, uh, their belief in their ability and their effort more than anything else. And
Yeah.
developmentally, you progress, and your training goals change, and your
Yeah.
uh, mental training goals also change.
Yeah. Very good. And what are the Harry Potter analogies you use? Can you remember what they are?
Oh, they go on and on. Are
Do
you a
they?
Harry Potter fan as well?
Not so much, but a little bit.
Okay. So one thing that I mean, like I said, I can go on and on with these, but one of these is for example, in the first book, when Harry has to find the Philosopher's Stone,
Yeah.
and Lord Voldemort is not able to find it because he wants to own the stone, while Harry wants to find it. And so, because Harry wants to find it, he's able to find it. So it's again about focusing on the process and focusing on, rather than
Right.
winning and
Right.
having the trophy, figure out how to get the trophy. So
Okay.
that's one example that I like to use. And like I said, there
Yeah.
are
Yeah. Well, before we let you go, maybe we'll squeeze in one more. You had another one, an animation one you said.
oh, just yeah, in fact, I don't. Today we were having this conversation on Twitter, just talking about mental health, talking about sports and the pandemic and how people are dealing with it. And I was just talking about a young client of mine who was teaching me. They were quoting Finding Dory, and there's a song which is "Just Keep Swimming,"
Yeah.
and I found that so great, especially in times like these when it's just about one step at a time and things are getting very difficult.
Yeah.
Uh, to have these kids share such positivity, um, and that's
Yeah.
something that goes on in my mind a lot these days. So just keep
Yeah.
swimming.
Yeah. And how have you been with the pandemic? Have you been on lockdown, or how have you been coping, or how have you found other people have been coping, even your colleagues?
It's been hard. The second wave has hit pretty hard. People are struggling both personally, their own health, their family members' health, with colleagues as well. A lot of us are actually, we're focused on looking after each other
Right.
in the team as well. And it's fantastic to have a team that, while they're looking after sick family members at home, they're also continuing to do sessions with school kids, with parents,
Right.
on social media, on helping people stay positive at this time, doing sessions with uh, a lot of clients who are also dealing with grief, dealing with
Right.
anxiety. Uh, it's been a hard time, but I
Yeah.
think it's also been a time which has, you know, uh, I've seen a lot of people banding together and really looking out for each other a
Yeah.
lot more than I've seen in the past. I feel a lot of gratitude, I feel a lot of support, and I think that's the general sentiment. I mean, again, it's about perspective, right? It's about what you choose to look at.
Yeah.
And while
Yeah.
there is a lot of sadness, a lot of grief around, um, there's also, I think, a lot to be proud of and a lot to celebrate also.
Yeah, I've noticed that when you kind of go on the news and you see kind of yeah, so many communities just kind of just coming together and supporting each other. It's so important. It really is. Yeah.
Yes, and I hope you remember this after the pandemic is over as well. I hope we don't lose sight
Yeah.
of this aspect.
Yeah.
That would be a
Yeah.
real loss.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Divya, that's been really, really good. We might leave it there unless you have anything else that you would like to add. Have you any kind of tips and tricks or some magic words that you want to tell everybody?
I think take it one day at a time, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Uh, Focus on the things that you can control. There's um, a lot of speculation out there these days. There's a lot of uncertainty. Uh, you know, just stick to what you can control. Train as hard as you can. Support each other as best as you can, and stay connected at this time.
Yeah. Lovely. Very good. Very, very good. That was very insightful, Divya. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on and do this. It's been very insightful. I have to say, it really has.
Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And guys, I will leave it there, and I will talk to you all again soon. Bye for now.